Rephidim, and were come to the desert of Sinai, and had pitched in the wilderness, and there Israel camped before the mount. And Moshe went up unto the Lord, and the Elohim called unto him out of the mountain, saying, Thus shalt thou say to the house of Jacob, and tell the children of Israel, Ye have seen what I've done unto the Egyptians, and how I bare you on eagle's wings, and brought you unto myself. Now therefore, if ye obey my voice indeed, and keep my covenant, then ye shall be a peculiar treasure.
Now I want to bring notice to this. The Most High is entering into a covenant with the house of Israel. He's saying, if you would obey my voice and do all that I command of you, then you will be a peculiar treasure in the world, in a nation. You will actually be a nation of priests. So Israel is not a nation of priests, because we all know that Israel did not obey the covenant that we made with the Creator.
Okay.
But today we teach that the house of Israel is a nation of priests unto the Most High. We use that scripture to clarify that the house of Israel is a nation of priests, and we're not, because we did not obey the agreement that we made with the Most High King. Read on, please. Finish that up.
Now therefore, if ye obey my voice indeed, and my covenant, then ye shall be a particular treasure unto me.
Peculiar treasure?
Peculiar treasure.
Does yours say peculiar?
Yeah, peculiar treasure unto me above all people, for all the earth is mine, and ye shall be unto me a kingdom of priests and a holy nation.
A kingdom of priests and a holy nation. If we were to obey him, then that's what we would have been. But we didn't obey him.
Okay.
So we can't use this parable today and say that we are a nation of priests, because we didn't obey the Creator. That's why we're in captivity today, because of our disobedience. Okay?
Okay.
Read on.
These are the words which thou shalt speak unto the children of Israel. And Moshe came and called for the elders of the people, and laid before their faces all these words which the Elohim commanded him. And all the people answered together and said, All that the Elohim has spoken we will do.
They entered into a covenant with the Most High King. They entered into a covenant. Our ancestors entered into a covenant with the Creator at this particular time. They said, all that you have spoken, we shall do. Read on.
And Moshe returned the words of the people unto the Elohim. And the Elohim said unto Moshe, Lo, I have come unto thee in a thick cloud, that the people may hear when I speak with thee, and believe thee forever. And Moshe told the words of the people unto the Elohim. And the Elohim said unto Moses, Go unto the people, and sanctify them today and tomorrow, and let them wash their clothes.
Now go unto the people and sanctify them today and tomorrow. Let them bathe their clothes. Read on.
And be ready against the third day.
And be ready against the third day.
For the third day, the Elohim will come down in the sight of all the people upon Mount Sinai. And thou shalt set bonds unto the people round about, saying, Take heed to yourselves, that ye go not up unto the mount, nor touch the border of it. Whoever touches the mount shall surely be put to death. There shall be an hand torch.
There shall be what?
There shall be.
There shall what?
There shall not be an hand torch.
Touch it.
Touch it. But he shall surely be stoned or shot through. Whether it be beast or man, it shall not live.
So nothing shall touch the foot of the mount, says the Creator. And if he does, he shall die. Read on.
When the trumpet soundeth long, they shall come.
When the trumpet sounds long, then they shall come. But not up into the mountain, just that they shall come. Read on.
Up to the mount. And Moshe went down from the mount unto the people, and sanctified the people, and they washed their clothes.
So Moshe went down, he blessed the people, he sanctified the people, he prepared them to come into the presence of the Most High. Right?
Correct.
Now, were the people, if a people was unclean and tried to approach into the Most High, would they be out of order? That's right.
Yes.
That's why we say and we teach that whenever you make prayer, you always ask the Most High for permission to approach him before you make prayer. Before you commence in your prayer, you always ask the Most High for permission to approach unto him. Okay? Because you haven't went through that ritual of sanctification. You haven't been through that process. Read on, please.
And he said unto the people, be ready against the third day. Come not at your wives.
Do what?
Come not at your wives.
Come not near unto your wives, your nashim. Why? The reason is because you could become defiled. You could become ritually unclean. So this is why Moshe says, separate yourself for 3 days. Sanctify yourself and be clean. Wash your clothes and bathe yourself. And on the third day, then we shall approach into the Most High. Read on.
And it came to pass on the third day in the morning that there were thunders and lightnings and a thick cloud upon the mount, and the voice of the trumpet exceeding loud, so that all the people that was in the camp trembled. And Moshe brought forth the people out of the camp to meet with the Elohim. And
what verse are you on?
17.
Read that again. Start 17.
And Moses brought forth the people out of the camp to meet with Elohim, and they stood at either
the nether part of the mountain. They
mountain.
couldn't come up into the mountain, so they had to stand
Correct.
around the surface. Read on.
And Mount Sinai was altogether on a smoke.
So the mountain, now I need you to envision this while we're reading this. All the people are standing around the mountain. The mountain is smoking like a volcano. You got to imagine the fear that's running through the hearts of the people right now. Grievous fear, because they don't know what's going to happen.
Okay.
Smoke is all over the place. Fire, lightning, thundering, and earth. The ground is shaking. There's an earthquake and everything.
Okay.
What's going to happen, family, and you're not going to understand this until later, the Most High is going to speak unto the children of Israel. He's going to give them the commandments. He's going to speak through the people are going to understand the voice of the lightning and the thundering. They're going to understand this, the children of Israel. But every nation around that can hear this are not going to understand that this is a language or words that's being spoken. When a volcano erupts, people can hear that eruption. They can see the ash for thousands of miles. You understand? Same thing in this situation. The people who are not of the nation of Israel will not be able to understand. See, the Most High is speaking to the children of Israel at this time. He's speaking to them. It's just not thundering and lightning going on for no reason. The Most High is holding a conversation with his people. But to the other nations, to the surrounding nations, it sounds like thundering and lightning. That's how powerful his voice is. To me, this was the reason for the day of Yom Teruah. Yom Teruah means day of the noise, day of the blowing, the shofar blowing. And if you remember, you're paying attention, that's exactly what's happening here. The shofar, the noise of the blowing is taking place. This is to me the most monumental day of the blowing or the noise or the voice taking place. This, to me, is the purpose of Yom Teruah, to celebrate this day that we became a nation. Because this is the day that we became a nation and we became sanctified as the children of the Almighty. Read on, let's see what's happening.
And Mount Sinai was altogether on smoke.
Shabbat shalom, Murray Yoel.
Because the Elohim descended
Shabbat
upon
shalom,
it in
babe.
fire. And the smoke thereof ascended as the smoke of a furnace. And the whole mount quaked greatly.
The whole mount quaked greatly. Was shaken. Read on.
And when the voice of the trumpet sounded long and waxed louder and louder, Moshe spoke, and the Elohim answered him by voice.
Now, what just happened?
Moshe spoke,
When
and the Elohim answered him by
Moshe
voice.
spoke, and the Most High answered him by voice. And all the children of Israel got to hear this voice. Read on and watch what happens. Read on.
And the Elohim came down upon Mount Sinai.
Read on.
On the top of the mount. And the Elohim called Moses up to the top of the mount. And Moses went up. And the Elohim said unto Moses, Go down, charge the people, lest they break through unto the Elohim to gaze, and many of them perish. And let the priests also, which come near to the Elohim, sanctify themselves, lest the Elohim break forth unto them.
Even the priests who came to the Most High had to be sanctified. If they wasn't, they couldn't approach unto the Most High. This is the reason why we teach our people to always ask the Creator for permission before you approach him in prayer. Read on.
And Moshe said unto the Elohim, The people cannot come up to the mount
Because
Sinai,
you forbid them to. Read on.
for thou chargest us, saying, Set bounds around the mount, and sanctify it. And the Elohim said unto him, Away, get thee down, and thou shalt come up, thou and Aaron with thee. But let not the priests and the people break through and come up to the Elohim. Let him break forth upon them. So Moshe went down unto the people and spake unto them. And the Elohim spake these words, saying, I am the Elohim, I am the Most High, thy Elohim, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt and the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other Elohims before me. Thou shalt not make unto any graven image, and any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water underneath the earth. Thou shalt not bow thyself to them, nor serve them. For I am the Elohim, am a jealous Elohim, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto the thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. Thou shalt not take my name, the Elohim, in vain, for the Elohim will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain. Remember the Sabbath day, to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work. But on the seventh day is the Sabbath, and the Elohim in it thou shalt do no work. Thou shalt not do any work. Thou nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger within thy gates. For 6 days the Lord made the heaven and the earth and the sea, and all that is in them is, and rested the seventh day. Therefore the Elohim blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. Honor thy father and thy mother, that thine days may be long upon the land which the Most High thy Elohim hath given thee. Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor's.
Now stop right there. The Most High was speaking these commandments. He was speaking them to all the people, not just Moshe. The people understood the words of the Most High. But to the other nations, to the other surrounding nations, it sounded like lightning and thundering and a terrible thing. It was so powerful that watch what the people says at this point. Read on.
And the people saw the thundering and the lightning and the noise of the trumpet and the mountains.
Wait. And the people saw what?
And the people saw the thundering and the lightning.
How you see thunder? You can't. That's how powerful this is. See, something was taking place there at the foot of the mountain that couldn't be put in words. It couldn't be properly translated. It didn't make sense. So they wrote it the best way that they could. How you see thunder?
You can't.
Read on, please.
And all the people saw the thundering and the lightning and the noise of the trumpet and the mountain smoking.
Now, if you look in Hebrew, it should say the voice of the trumpet. Read on, please.
And when the people saw it, they removed. They stood afar off. And they said unto Moshe, Speak thou with us, we will hear. But let not the Elohim speak with us, lest we die.
Now, the people heard the Most High speaking. And it was so powerful that they said, Moshe, you speak with us. Don't let the Most High speak with us because we are afraid. And from that day forward, the Most High heard their voice and began to send prophets to the people. The people was hearing the words of the Almighty as he spoke them, which was decipherable words for us. But for the rest of the nations around us, it was noise and trumpets and thundering and lightning, something dreadful, because the Most High was placing his fear upon the people. Read on, please.
And Moshe said unto the people, Fear not, for the Elohim is come to prove you, and that his fear may be before your faces, yet that ye sin not. And the people stood afar off, and Moshe drew near unto the thick darkness where the Elohim was.
Where did Moshe draw to?
To the thick darkness where the Elohim was.
King Solomon in the 2 Kings chapter 8, verse 12, I believe it is. He says, the Most High said that he dwells in thick darkness. Right here, the Most High is, the writer of this, Moshe presumably, is saying that the Most High was dwelling in the thick darkness, correct?
Okay.
This is why we make prayer in the dark. This is why when we're in a home, we turn off all the lights and then we proceed to make prayer, trying to emulate the presence of the Almighty. Now, once you turn off the lights and you're in the darkness, then you have to ask the Most High for permission to approach unto him. We do all these things. Now, we know that we are not in the holies of holies. We know that we're not in these places of great and holiness when we're making prayer to the Most High, but we do our best to resemble this place. We try to give the Most High the highest respect, because that's how you approach him to the Most High, with respect and honor. You give him his praises that's due to him. Read on, please.
And the Elohim said unto Moshe, Thus thou shalt say unto the children of Israel, Ye have seen that I have talked with you from heaven.
What did the Most High say?
Ye have seen that I have talked with you.
So whether you agree with me or not, the Most High made it and put it on record that what I said was correct. Okay. He spoke to the children of Israel. They all heard his voice. And that has never happened in creation, where any deity or power that they said was the Most High have spoken to the whole nation at one time. Okay. Never happened. See, that's what makes the house of Israel unique. That makes the house of Israel unique. Our power spoke unto us all at one time. Read on, please.
Ye shall not make me gods of silver, neither shall thee make unto you gods of gold. An altar of earth thou shalt make unto me. Thou shalt sacrifice thereon thine burnt offerings, thou and thy peace offerings, thy sheep and thine oxen, and all places where I record my name. I will come unto thee, and I will bless thee. And if thou wilt make me an altar of stone, thou shalt build it of hewn stone. For if thou lift up thy tool upon it, thou hast polluted it. Neither shall thou go up by steps unto mine altar.
What did he say? He says, don't lift up your tool upon it, for if you do, you're polluting it. Read on.
Neither shall thou go up by steps unto mine altar, that thine nakedness be not discovered therein. Now these are the judgments which thou set before them. If thou buy a Hebrew servant, 6 years shall he serve, and in the 7th he shall go free for nothing. If he came in by himself, he shall go out by himself. If he were married, then his wife shall go out with him. If his master have given him a wife, then she have borne him sons or daughters. The wife and her children shall be her master's, and he shall go out by himself. If the servant shall plainly say, I love my master, my wife, and my children, and I will not go out free, then his master shall bring him unto judges. He shall also bring him to the door, or unto the door post of his master shall bore his ear, through which and all, and he shall serve him forever. And if the man shall sell his daughter to be a maidservant, she shall not go out as the men servants do. If she please not her master, who have betrothed her to himself, then he shall let her be redeemed, to sell her unto a strange nation. He shall have no power, saying he have dealt deceitfully with her. And if he has betrothed her unto his sons, and he shall deal with her after the manner of daughters. And if he take him another wife, her food, her raiment, and her duty of marriage shall not diminish. And if he does not these three unto her, then shall she go out free without money. And that smiteth a man, so that he die, surely be put to death.
He that smiteth a man that he dies shall surely be put to death. Read on.
And if the man lie not in wait, but Elohim deliver him unto his hand, then I will appoint thee a place whither he shall flee.
Now, it says, because a lot of people believe that the city of refuge is only for the man who commits murder by accident, but that wasn't an accident. The Most High says if this man lies in wait, then he's not to be taking vengeance. But if it just so happens that the Creator delivers this man into your hands and you take his life, you're supposed to take his life, and the Most High gives you a place for you to flee to. So that wasn't an accident. It was intentional, but yet the Most High calls that man to come into your position, and you took his life. Read on, please.
But if a man come presumably unto his neighbor to slay him,
that's murder.
With guile, thou shalt take him from mine altar, that he may die.
There's a difference. Read on.
And he may smiteth his father or his mother shall be surely put to death.
He that smiteth his father or his mother shall surely be put to death. Read on.
And he that stealeth a man and selleth him, or if he is found in his hand, he shall surely be put to death.
He that stealeth a man and selleth him shall surely be put to death. So were we stolen?
Absolutely.
Were we found out in this man's hand that he stole us?
Can.
So why didn't he get put to death? Read on, please.
And he that curses his father.
You can stop when you get to chapter 22.
He that curses his father and his mother shall surely be put to death.
He that curses his father and his mother, you should never have anything negative or evil to say about your mother and father.
And if a man strive together, and one smite another with a stone, or his fist, he die not, but keepeth his bed, if he rise again and walk abroad his staff, then shall he that smote him be quote. Only he shall pray for the loss of his time, and shall cause him to be thoroughly healed.
He shall pay for the loss of his time, and cause him to be thoroughly healed. In great honorable societies, what takes place is if that situation happened and you caused this man to be sick or hurt or ill in some type of way, he couldn't work, it was your responsibility to provide for his family until he was better. Read on.
And if a man smite his servant or his maid with a rod, and he die under his hand, he shall surely be punished. Notwithstanding.
If a man does what?
If a man smite his servant or his maid with a rod, and he died under his hand, he shall surely be punished.
So that meant that the slave master was prohibited from killing the slave.
Okay.
You can rule over them and you can punish them, but you couldn't kill them.
Okay.
You couldn't put out their eye, because if you put out their eye, you had to let them go free for their eyeball, for their eye's sake. There was a lot of things you could not do to a servant.
Okay.
So why do men beat their wives today? Why do men black their eyes? Why do men punch out their faces and beat them up and break their arms and all these things? Hebrew men I'm talking about. And then don't expect a woman to leave. Is your slave better than your wife? Or higher in rank than your wife?
No.
You see what I'm saying? See, the Creator gives us these women as a possession, but it's a certain care, a meticulous care that we must give and provide to them.
Okay.
And if you're an abusive man, you have issues and you don't deserve a wife.
Okay.
Read on, please.
Notwithstanding, if he continue a day or two, he shall not be punished, for he is his money. If a man strive and hurt a woman with child, so that her fruit depart from her, and yet no mischief follow, he shall surely be punished, according as the woman's husband will lay upon him. And if he shall pay as the judges determine, and if any
read on, please.
And if any mischief follow, then thou shalt give life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot, burning for burning, wound for wound, stripe for stripe. And if a man smite the eye of his servant, or the eye of his maid, that it perish, he shall let him free for his eye's sake. And if he smite out his man servant's tooth, or his maid servant's tooth, then he shall let them go free for the tooth's sake. If an ox gore a man or a woman, that they die, then the ox shall be surely stoned, and his flesh shall not be eaten. But the owner of the ox shall be quiet. But if the ox were wont to push with
if he was known to gore people in the past. Read on.
But if the ox wont to push with his horn in time past, then it has been testified to his owner, and he has not kept him in, but that he has killed a man or a woman, the ox shall be stoned, with the owner also shall be put to death. And if he be laid on him a sum of money, that he shall give for the ransom of his life, whatsoever is laid upon him, whether he have gored a son or gored a daughter.
Shabbat shalom, Mikael Yah.
According to this judgment shall it be done unto him. If the ox shall push a manservant or a maidservant, he shall give unto the master 30 shekels of silver, and the ox shall be stoned. And if a man shall open a pit, or if a man shall dig a pit, and not cover it, and the ox or an ass falleth therein, then the owner of the pit shall make it good, and give money unto the owner of them, and the dead beast shall be his.
See, these laws are speaking for themselves. If you do wrong, you got to pay a price for doing wrong. Read on, please.
And if one's ox hurt another's, then he died. Then thou shalt sell the live ox and divide the money of it, and the ox and the dead ox also shall divide. Or if it be known that the ox hath used the push in time past, and his owner hath not kept him in, he shall surely pay ox for ox, and the dead shall be his own.
Wonderful. This is what I would like for you to do. I want you to start that chapter over again, chapter 21. Start from the beginning of 21. Family, in this lesson, you've learned that the children of Israel were becoming a nation at this particular time. We needed laws and statutes and governments and ordinances to be established and run successfully as a nation. These are the things that we're reading about now. Those laws, statutes, and ordinances that the Father gave to us as he spoke these things before all the people. And he's going to say later on in the chapters that I speak not just with you here today, but with those who are to come. I'm speaking about us in the future, that we would have to obey. That he's speaking to us now because we were in the loins of our ancestors at that time. So he was speaking to us as well. And we also had to learn to obey the commands of the Creator and hold ourselves accountable for the wrongdoings of these commands. Okay? Read on, please. Let's start over Exodus 21, verse 1.
Now these are the judgments which thou shalt set before them.
As we become a nation, these are some of the judgments that the Creator said for Moshe to set before us. The first thing he's going to deal with is the deciphering of the nation as far as setting up and establishing servants. Read on.
If thou buy a Hebrew servant,
If you buy a Hebrew servant,
6 years shall he serve,
6 years shall he serve.
and in the 7th he shall go out free for nothing.
In the 7th year, he shall go out free for nothing.
If he come in,
Uhana, Shabbat Shalom.
if he come in by himself, he shall go out by himself. If he were married, then his wife shall go out with him. If the master have given him a wife, and she have borne him sons.
Now, if his master has given him a wife, and he has children, male children, by this wife. Read on. This is what something particular has to take place. Read
or
on.
daughters, the wife of her children, the wife and her children shall be her masters.
The wife and the children belong to the master, not the servant. So if this man had to sell himself into captivity for a period of time, 6 years he could serve. That 7th year come around and that man say, I want my freedom. But during that 6 years, the master went out and got a woman, brought the woman into his household, and allowed him to cohabit with this woman as his wife. When that 7th year comes and that servant wants to leave, he's free to leave, but those women and children belong to the master. You follow me?
Same as Jacob.
Yeah. If the servant says, well, I don't want to leave. I love my master, I love my women and my children, and I want to keep them. Then it was a process that servant had to go through. When you see men wearing an earring today, that means you're a slave. That's why women wore earrings. They wore neck rings and jewels and all type of things, but they wore earrings. In this particular instance, it's talking about the boring through of the ear. It can be anywhere on the ear, and you put an awl through it. That was a symbol of a servant. Now, I'm going to get me my earrings, but I never got my earrings pierced. I used to wear 2 earrings, one on each ear. When we were at the temple, I'll probably do it again when we open the temple back up. But I used to wear clip-on earrings. But it was symbolic of being a slave for the Almighty. You understand?
I wanted to ask you that a while ago too, because I was reading that we wore earrings, but I didn't really understand. Yeah, but now you brought it out clarity there. I read that before that we wore earrings.
Yeah. Symbolically, it is because you belonged to someone. Women wear earrings because they belong to a man. Okay? Men wore earrings because they belong to another man. And symbolically, we belong to the Creator. You follow me? So there's a reason for these things. Read on, please.
And the master giveth him a wife, and she bore him sons or daughters. The wife and her children shall be her masters, and he shall go out by himself.
The wife and the children belongs to the master. He can leave. He's free to leave after 7 years. He's free to leave. But those things that the master gave to him belong to the master. Now, let me capitalize on this. If this master happens to be high priest, and he let the servant go, then the woman and the children that the master that was born in the priest's house, in the master's house, he could eat of the most holy things. Regular Israel couldn't eat of the most holy things. But if you were born in the household of the high priest, then you could partake of the most holy things. That is because the high priest's spirit is on you. If the high priest governs you by way of either he brought you or you belong to him in some type of way, his spirit governs you. Same thing with an old man, with a single individual man. That's why the Most High tells you not to steal. Because if anything that belongs to a person, their spirit governs it. You are now taking something and putting it to yourself, then what you're doing is you're trying to force your spirit to cohabit with a spirit that is not yours. That's evil. That's why you can't take another man's wife, because that man's wife has his spirit, his covering. That's why the women in Isaiah, the 4th chapter says, let us be called by your name. Let us be possessed by your spirit. They're not just looking for a man. They're looking for a righteous man. Because with a righteous man comes a righteous covering. If you take something from somebody and you take it unlawfully, then the Most High is saying that you are trying to force your spirit to possess the spirit of something else. That's considered to be evil. Okay? That's why thou should not steal. That's why thou should not murder. Thou should not covet. You see? In the process of coveting, you're trying to force your spirit upon something that doesn't belong to you. This law is deep. But for a lot of people who don't understand how the process of spirituality works, they don't understand it. They think it's just that you shouldn't steal for the sake of stealing, which is true. But you shouldn't steal because you're trying to force in the spirit realm something to possess a spirit that doesn't belong to you. Read on. It has the spirit of something else, someone else.
And if the servant shall plainly say, I love my master, my wife, and my children, I will not go free, then his master shall bring him unto judges, and he shall also bring him to the door, or unto the door post, and his master shall bore his ear through with an all.
I love my master and my wife and my children, and I don't want to leave. And what was he supposed to do?
He was supposed to go, the master would go to the judges.
He letting all the people know that this is mine. He belongs to me for the rest of his life. He agreed to serve me. Can we have those kind of servants in this day and time?
In America?
That should be without a thought.
In America?
The answer is true, is yes. We can. We're Hebrew.
Okay. Yeah.
We can have a man to dedicate his life to servitude to us. We can. And we will bore his ear and put an earring in his ear. And that earring represents that he belongs to us. We can do that today. But the arrogance and the pride of man today makes that almost impossible. Because we won't submit ourselves to our brothers. We got a lot of women that have a hard time submitting themselves to their husbands. So how you think another man going to submit himself to another man? That's very difficult for this day and time. Because as soon as we disagree with his authority over us, what do? We run and we separate. He was good enough for us to walk with for 10 and 15 years, unquestionable. But now he does some things that we disagree with. I ain't talking about evil, I'm just talking about things that you disagree with. We walk and we separate from it. Now, if you're separating from evil, that's one thing, I agree. You have to separate from evil. Read on, please.
And his master shall bring him unto judges, and he shall also bring him to door and unto the door post, and his master shall bore his ear with an awl, and he shall serve him forever.
He shall serve the master for how long?
Forever.
Forever. That means we can still do this today. We can still implement that in the laws today. So if you know a man that you feel you wouldn't mind serving this man, you make that pledge or that oath to him, and you do so. Same thing with a woman. If she wants to serve you, because this chapter is talking about a wife, because a wife is a servant. This is why the wife was not mentioned in Exodus the 12th chapter, I believe it is, when he starts talking about who can and cannot work on the Shabbat, it doesn't say wife. It says your male and female servants. Your wife is a servant. This chapter is talking about servants and is going to bring up if a man takes a wife. It's a servant. Read on and let's see.
And if a man sell his daughter to be a maidservant.
To be a maidservant. This is a wife, a maidservant. Read on. Now, I know it might sound harsh or crude to my sisters, but it's only because of the mind state that the Western mentality has given us.
Okay.
In the Hebraic thought, the true Hebraic thought, we understood our roles and our duties and our responsibilities. We had no problem with understanding that the wife was a servant to her king. Okay?
Okay.
Read on, please.
And if a man sells his daughter to be a maidservant, she shall not go out as the men servants do, if she please not her master.
If she doesn't please her master, that did what?
That
betrothed her to himself.
Yes.
He took her as a wife, but yet the Creator called her a servant, a female servant, because we had to pay a dowry for our Nashim or our Isha. We had to pay a dowry. We paid a price. So the master, you are taking her to yourself. Read on.
And if she please not her master.
If she's not pleasing to him.
Who has betrothed her to himself.
He betroths her unto himself as a wife. Read
then
on.
Shall he let her be redeemed.
He shall let her be redeemed, which means I'll give her back. But he couldn't let her be redeemed, which means you do take back your money, but you give her back. But you couldn't have had sex with her at this time. She's only betrothed. And through a betrothal period, it's not about intercourse. Okay? A betrothal is to give a person a period of time to see their worthiness or their value in your life. A betrothal is for that purpose. So whatever time that betrothal was for, if she was not acceptable to you, she did not please you, not that you laid down with her, you defiled her, and then you say, oh, it wasn't no good, let me give her back. That's not the law. That's not what we're talking about. That's evil. We're talking about you betrothed her to yourself to see if she would work out as a wife for you. You didn't have sex with her. No sexual contact was involved. Now, after that betrothal period, you found out she was not acceptable. You did not admire her in that manner. You could do one or two things. You could let her be redeemed back to her father or somebody in her father's house, but they had to give you back your money, or you can give her to your son. You follow me? Now, you couldn't give her to your son if you lay with her because she's now your wife.
Okay.
You could not lie with her. It's a betrothal process. You only had the luxury of sexual contact if you took her to be your wife.
Okay.
You could let her be redeemed. You could not give her to a foreign nation and sell her to a foreign nation for your money because she was given to you under the guise of being a wife, a female servant, not under the guise of just a regular slave. It says that the woman should not go out as the men servants do. They go out as wives. You follow me? Okay. So if you wasn't pleased after the time that you allotted for yourself to have her serve you or to during your betrothal, if you wasn't pleased with her, you either redeemed her back to her folk, her family, or you gave her to your son. One or the other. But let's see what happens. Let's see what the law says. Read on.
To sell her unto a strange nation, he shall have no power.
He could not sell her to a strange nation. Read on.
Seeing he have dealt deceitfully with her.
Because he took her under the guise of making her a wife. But then he said, no, she doesn't qualify. I'm going to give her back. So you couldn't give her to another nation and get your money. You had to give her back to her family. Read on.
And if he have betrothed her unto his son, he shall deal with her after the manner of daughters.
If he betrothed her unto his son, if he bought this slave and he dealt with her as a son, so my correction when I said that if he don't deal with her, he's not pleased with her, he give it to his son. My correction. The law actually says if he betrothed her unto his son, this is how he's supposed to deal with her. Read on.
if he take him another wife.
Now, if he keep her as a wife, if he keeps her, but then he takes another wife after her, then certain things are to take place. Watch what happens.
Her food, her raiment, and her duty of marriage shall he not diminish.
Now, if he keeps her as a wife, let's say he took her through a betrothal period, and then he decided, yeah, I'm going to keep you. Okay? And then she became ugly in his sight, which means her actions and her deeds and her thoughts became ugly in his sight. Then he decided, I want to take another wife. Then everything that he did for her and providing for her as his wife shall not diminish.
Okay.
He should not lack on any of that, which means that in order for a man to have a second wife, he has to be able to financially afford it.
Okay.
You can't say, oh, well, now you can't buy so much every week, babe, because I got to go take another wife and we got to be able to take care of her and be able to afford her. The Creator is saying that that's wrong. Whatever lifestyle you've made her accustomed to, you have to be able to maintain that lifestyle when you take on another wife.
Okay.
A lot of brothers today, we ignore those responsibilities and we cut corners and we defraud the wife and we cheat her out of what's due her and we take another woman. Some of us, we never tell, but we should. Matter of fact, she should be even involved in the partaking of another wife. Your first wife should be involved in that process.
Okay.
But you cannot take a second wife and not maintain or continue to maintain the lifestyle that you made the first wife privy to. Okay? If you do, there are consequences. And this is what the Creator says. Now, a lot of people get upset and angry with Prince because Prince teaches that if you don't take care of your woman, she can get a divorce. But the Most High says in the law, right here. Let's read it. Back up just a verse.
All right. And if he had betrothed her unto his son, he shall deal with her after the manner of daughters. If he take him another wife, her food, her raiment, and her duty of marriage shall he not diminish.
He has to continue to have sex with her. He has to continue to provide for her. Everything that he was doing for her as a wife when she was solo, he must continue to do those things if he takes another wife. And if he doesn't continue to do those things, what does Scripture say?
And if he does not these things unto her, then shall she go out free.
She should go out what?
Free.
That's a divorce. And she don't owe you nothing.
Without money.
She don't owe you a dime. If you don't provide for your woman, she can leave. Yo, stinky. I'm sorry, I just had to let it out that way, because that's how they feel about us, man. But that's how it is. In reality, if you're not paying the cost to be the boss, you don't get to be the boss. Okay. Those are the words of the Almighty. Okay. That's not Prince's interpretation of anything. It's etched in stone. That's the Most High's word. Okay? So sisters, you ain't got to suffer sitting in the house with no electric, no gas, no heat in the wintertime. You ain't got to suffer, sisters. You ain't got food to feed your children because he want to be a bum. Now, I'm not saying if your husband is falling on hard times. If he's falling on hard times, then you have to be considerate and fall on hard times with him. But I'm talking about a man that is fully able and just don't get up and try to do nothing to provide for his family. You do not have to suffer with that, sisters, at all. The Most High has made a way for you to be alleviated from that situation and free and clear of any guilt. Any guilt. So you let people judge you if they want to. If that man is not doing his job as the head of that household and the head of that family, the Most High made provisions for you to be able to leave and flee that situation. All right. That's it, my brother. We're done with this portion for the day. I pray that the Most High causes you all to have left this meeting with more understanding than you did when you came in. Okay? Because these are the realities of our life. And as we return back to the Most High in righteousness and truth, we must hold fast to his laws. and his teachings. Okay? A lot of the teachings, the truth of his teachings, we won't like necessarily. They won't be pleasing to us necessarily.
Okay.
But they're real. And it's best for us to do what he says for us to do in all of our ways. So if there's any questions, family, you can pose your questions in the room. Creator willing, we'll be able to answer your questions. And if there are no questions, we're going to close out this portion of our Shabbat teachings and our Shabbat lessons. Are there any questions, family? You can write them in the room and we'll address them. Or if you get back to me at a later time, you can always IM me on Instant Messenger or write it in the Facebook or the YouTube page and we'll address it then. Colin Adams, my nephew, says, that means he chose to be a bum. That's right. Don't want to provide for his family. That's correct. He chose to be a bum. Now, that's a different situation than a man is just hard on his luck, having a hard time. You don't leave your man because he's struggling in life. You don't leave him for that reason. But if he ain't even trying to do what he's supposed to do, there's no reason for you to be there. Okay? All right. So I don't see any questions coming up. We're going to terminate this conversation at this time. May the Most High be pleased with our efforts to strive to serve him, to get right with him in the land of our captivity. May he forgive us of our sins and our iniquities, and may he guide us to swiftly return back to him. Okay, somebody's writing in the room. Let me see what they say. Let me see what they say. All right, Colin says, yes, got a question. Can we have sex with our wives on Shabbat day? No, you should not have sex with your wife on the Shabbat day.
You should. Earlier, we can't come to our wives.
That's right. When you're ready to approach the Creator, in this chapter we read today, it spoke about us sanctifying ourselves when we're ready to approach the Creator. When you come in on the Shabbat day, you should be sanctifying yourself to approach the Creator. Okay? So you should not be having sex on the Shabbat day. Although the only thing that makes you unclean about sex on the Shabbat day is the ejaculation or the emission of semen. That's what makes you unclean. But there's another portion of law in Isaiah 58 that speaks about you doing your own pleasures on the Shabbat day. That's one of the things that you don't have to do. So you should refrain from having sexual intercourse on the Shabbat day. Sister Huhana says, a sister doesn't have to follow her husband. She absolutely has to follow her husband. Yes, she must follow her husband. But when you got a husband that deliberately chooses not to provide for his family, she needs to seek counsel of the elders and the leadership in her community. And she does have the ability at that point to be released from that man who is not providing for her because he chooses not to, not because he's hard on times or having a difficult time in life. We're not talking about a man that's struggling that the Most High is bringing judgment on. We're not talking about that brother. We're talking about a brother who sit around, play video games, who refuses to go out to work and refuses to do the things that's needed and necessary to keep the lights on, keep food on the table, and to keep clothes on your back. She says, if your husband tells you to do something, yeah, you obey your husband. Absolutely. You obey your husband. If your husband commands of you or requests of you to do something, it should be in your heart, in your mind, your spirit to do what your husband has requested of you. Okay? So maybe it's another question that you're trying to say that I'm not catching. Oh, something sinful.
Oh, no.
Well, I got to answer this. Yes, you do. You are to obey your husband. You shouldn't have married him. But you are to do what it is that your husband asks you to do. Not because you desire to do it. Now, if you refuse it, you can. And I'm not saying you should refuse it. But if you do, you do. That judgment Well, let me put it this way. It will probably be best if you do not do the evil that he tells you to do and let the Creator be your judge. I have to put it that way. But it's imperative that you obey your husband's voice. But what I have to say is, if he tells you to do something that's evil and sinful, you don't do it. And you ask the Almighty for mercy and let the Almighty know why it is that you have not done it. Mike, Boy King, Shabbat Shalom. That's a very good question. Mike asks, what if the husband is not a believer? He doesn't believe in this way of life. If he's your husband, see, that's the first part. That qualifies him as your husband. Then you have to obey his voice. If you don't want to obey his voice, then you need to get a divorce. But if he's your husband and he's not a believer, he doesn't live this way, it's your responsibility to obey his voice because you live this way. And the law teaches that you must obey your husband. Okay? So, Mike, there's the answer. Carlin, before you do that, I'd like to speak to you about that. So don't just break up with her because of her religious beliefs. We have to get deep into the subject. We have to give her opportunity to change her ways. We have to do a lot before we just separate from a marriage, because the marriages are divine and you may be her only way to learn of the Creator. And if you separate from her, she may not never learn. But if she refuses to submit to the Creator, then absolutely you will have to separate. But there's a way and there's a method and there's a procedure for you to do that. So don't just take it upon yourself to just separate from your wife because she lives a different way. But you have to give her opportunity to change her ways. And if she doesn't change her ways, then yes, you are to separate from her. But you should probably give me a call where we can speak and talk with her and to her and see where her mind is and where her decisions are as far as her trying to serve the Creator and obey you as head of the household. Okay? So are there any other questions? Anybody in the room have any questions? Anything that we're missing? Yeah, what was your question? I think you might have heard me. I said, if you're speaking about your wife, I said for you to call me and we can discuss that. Don't just break up with her right now, Carlin. We have to discuss it because we have to see if she can receive some type of salvation through you. You know, you just don't want to give up on a wife because she doesn't agree with the things that you say, particularly in the beginning. You have to give her opportunity and option to make a choice, but you have to present it to her with judges on a level platform, because it just may be that it's something displeasing in your sight, in her sight, that you are doing or not doing that's causing her to be rebellious. So just because she's displeasing to you, don't run at the first sight of displeasure. You struggle and you try to make it work, and if it doesn't work, and after you've given it some time to try to work it out, and it still remains the same, then yes, you separate from your wife. Okay? And a wife is not, divorce is not something the Most High find pleasing. Mm-hmm. He doesn't find divorce pleasing at all. So you have to go through every means to work it out, to make it work. But it has to be honorable, brothers and sisters, before Him, that you take and partake in your life as a lifetime mate. This is why it's so important that before you get married, you go through a courtship for a period of time. I would say 6 months is the minimum. Usually within that time frame, you get to see the type of character of the person that you're dealing with. Okay? So if there's no other questions, we're going to close out this portion of our Shabbat teachings. May the Most High be pleased with you all. May He bless you all and cause His Spirit to dwell within you, to elevate you, and to bring you closer to His truth. Forever and ever, may the Most High be praised. Toda Rabbah. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Now,
Shabbat shalom, family.
this is not allowing me to save it. This is only allowing me to post it.